Let's go now to our friend Beimnet Abebe from Galaxy Trading. As always, Beimnet, welcome back to Galaxy Brains.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're on a bit of a run right now. The Bitcoin conference is coming up next week. Bitcoin was trading at about 65,000 as we record this, which is up fairly decent amount off those lows, maybe up $10,000 off the lows. What's driving that in your mind?
Yeah, so I think it's really been a function of Trump starting to lead and get a more aggressive lead post the shooting announcement and the fact that he's pro Bitcoin. And so the market, over the weekend essentially repriced Bitcoin materially higher because it's pretty clear that Bitcoin is an election issue, and that Trump is most likely going to get elected now. And of the universe of Republican winning election trades, Bitcoin at that point in time offered very attractive risk reward because it had sold off so much, and it's a pretty liquid way of expressing the Trump thesis in theory. And so the market really latched onto that, and then there was an existing short base that got squeezed as a function of that, and some folks that were short some optionality as well that got squeezed, and so you basically had fresh longs being put on into a market that was decently shorted that caused some short liquidations. And then on top of that, you've had pretty dramatic ETF inflows over the past couple of sessions. I think IBIT, the figures reported yesterday were an inflow of $229 million. And so you're starting to see continued uptick in Bitcoin ETF kind of ads. In addition, you had Larry Fink literally on TV Monday morning on Squawk Box touting Bitcoin and how it is a great portfolio diversifier, digital gold. And what struck me the most was kind of the fact that he spoke about Bitcoin as kind of a hedge to uh, let's just say broader societal concerns, and rampant fiscal abroad, and
Mm-hmm.
domestically in a way. And so it's so uh, elevating to see the CEO of a $8 trillion asset management company truly believe in kind of the ethos of crypto, and Bitcoin primarily. He did acknowledge some of the concerns around it, but at this point, we've said this phrase a lot, but it is an asset class that has been institutionalized. And when it's the one of the few things that Larry Fink talks about when he's on Squawk Box in the morning, I think that tells you all you need to know about where this asset class stands in the context of others. It's right there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think when you kind of put together all of these things and you start thinking about, an SEC that doesn't have Gensler, a vice presidential candidate that actually owns Bitcoin and is interested in crypto legislation, when you couple this with the fact that you have, Donald Trump engaging in a speaking appearance at Bitcoin Nashville, all of these things, start to form a very constructive picture for Bitcoin domestically. And then on top of that, I view, the fact that the German government is done selling as a constructive development.
Yep.
There's less supply coming into the market on a go forward basis. In addition, that there's genuine chatter about China allowing mainland citizens to potentially, buy Bitcoin. Obviously, it'd be in kind of a closed construct, similar to what you see in Korea, Japan, India. But nonetheless, still a positive development. And so, there's just so many things that are kind of creating such a powerful narrative around Bitcoin. And the regulatory front, like, even today you had Hester Pierce comment about how there is a path forward to kind of revisiting in kind creates and redemptions of the ETF products as well. And so there's just so much that's good happening, and that's what you're seeing reflected in Bitcoin. And yeah, if you're not long, you're
Hmm.
short. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of
I
what, where it is at right now.
it's definitely going to get more exciting. I mean, I think in addition to the former president appearing at the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville just 2 weeks to the day from the failed assassination attempt, that's obviously humongous. But I can tell you from talking with the folks at Bitcoin Magazine, they're anticipating a lot of other interesting announcements at that conference. So, and then by the way, it's going to be really interesting because next week we anticipate that the ETH ETFs will launch. Maybe I
Correct.
don't know. I think Tuesday is the day most are expecting. Maybe it's Wednesday. And so you're going to have these ETFs go up head to head, the ETFs going up head to head against the Bitcoin conference and all the stuff that entails. It's going to be a very interesting week for ETH BTC. What do you think on that, by the way?
I think Bitcoin is going to outperform no matter what in an up environment or a down environment. I view the Ethereum ETF approval as a supply event because you'll have folks that have been stuck in ETH paying exorbitant fees in addition to not earning staking yields and also not having the utility of having liquid ETH to yield farm, etc. And so, my inclination is that there's going to be a lot of redemptions that are going to be met with some genuine buying demand, but not enough to kind of outweigh the supply dynamics that are associated with this ETH product
Mm-hmm.
unlocking. In addition, like it's one of those things where like I genuinely I don't have many compelling arguments as to why somebody should prefer an ETH ETF product over owning ETH, like in any other way, basically. The yield dynamics, the lack of a management fee, like at least with Bitcoin, there's no native yield on Bitcoin, and so you're not foregoing anything by going into the ETF, and you might get some margin benefits of, for going into it, and so there's a reasonable argument to be made that you should convert some of your Bitcoin balances to the Bitcoin ETFs, but with ETH, you don't have that argument, and so um, I'm a little bit more cautious around the ETH ETF. In addition, this industry does have quite the reputation of being a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of market. And that's what you've seen with basically every other ETF launch that we've had in the history of crypto. The original Bitcoin futures ETF was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. The actual Bitcoin ETF launch was, again, buy the rumor, sell the news event, just tactically on the day of the launch. And the Ethereum futures ETF, same thing. Day was launching, futures spike on Sunday open, and you're quickly heading lower after,
Yep.
kind of accelerating higher. And so I do think that rallies are probably meant to be faded going into this launch event, but ultimately you've got Donald Trump, who's most likely going to be the leader of the free world, speaking at Bitcoin Nashville,
Yeah.
on, I believe that's on the 27th of July, and
Yep.
and
On
and
Saturday. Yep.
he is. You really don't know what he's going to say. You don't know what kind of the other participants are going to say as well, and there's a lot of single issue voters that are focused on crypto, and so I think this is there's the potential for some meaningful surprises. I think, and so I continue to think that Bitcoin is probably the thing that you want to own on a relative basis.
Okay. And just let's go to macro real quick before we wrap here. I've seen some dovish commentary. What's been happening in the rates markets? What's going on?
It's the data has turned. It started to turn in, some of the employment figures, but most importantly in the price figures as well. And you're starting to see basically the bottom 40% of the economy, start to meaningfully struggle. I'll give you an interesting data point, just to highlight some of this. Retail sales this week came out and they came in higher than expected, but they came in higher than expected because of a reasonably large kind of seasonal adjustment factor. When you kind of take away some of the seasonality adjustments, the figures are actually you know not good. I think they represent like down 5% in terms of retail sales on a not seasonally adjusted basis. In addition, when you kind of look at the credit card data that you've gotten for the month of June, at least one report that I saw from a large bulge bracket bank highlighted that spending was down in almost every single category in a meaningful way, and you're starting to see credit card write-offs and reserves for loan losses kind of pick up in the credit card industry, and so I'm starting to think that you're basically at the point where the Fed is going to realize that they are behind the curve in terms of cutting interest rates, and that they probably need to go quicker than they had originally anticipated. So I think you're still meant to be long front end interest rates. I think that there's a decent chance that folks start to talk about 50 basis point cuts pretty soon. Uh, you haven't had much in you don't have much in the way of data this week, but I do think that you just got to keep paying attention to the data. There's some other interesting dynamics with respect to who Trump is going to pick for Fed chair, if he's going to get rid of Powell, and who he would potentially replace him with, who Treasury Secretary is going to be. And so on a go forward basis, it's going to be really important to kind of assess what Trump is thinking with respect to monetary policy. And some of the headlines we've had over the past 48 hours, there's a little bit of kind of mixed signals out of it. One of the headlines I saw from Tuesday, in this, I think it was a Bloomberg or FT interview, was that he basically said Powell shouldn't cut interest rates before the election.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of a big statement. He also, I think, is potentially considering Jamie Dimon for Secretary of Treasury, and obviously Jamie Dimon is not pro Bitcoin, and so there's a lot of things that
Well,
are
actually, I
up in
wanted
the
to
air.
say
But
while we're recording, Bimnet, while we're recording, a Forbes story has come out saying that Donald Trump claims that Jamie Dimon has changed his tune on Bitcoin, which listeners to this podcast will know
no,
we've got that.
really,
Yeah, I haven't confirmed this, but it's a Forbes story. I'm going to put in the chat in a minute. But
Forbes is reporting that.
so
Wow.
we'll have to see. I mean,
What did Jamie Dimon call Bitcoin? The like
he said
rocks? What did he
Satoshi's
call?
going to come on there, laugh hysterically. All the Bitcoin's going to be erased. That's our listeners will know that's a quote from Jamie Dimon in there. Yeah, he called it a Ponzi scheme. He made fun of his own daughter for owning Bitcoin at one point publicly. So, look, let's wrap it there. There's a lot going on, and we will catch up with you next week, Beimnet. Beimnet Abebe from Galaxy Trading, as always, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.